Welcome to the sixth episode of the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. In today's episode, I have a very special guest, and by special, I mean she doesn't like to be called special. She's a spiritual healer, she's a spiritual teacher, and author of the book The Gift Beneath the Anxiety. Welcome, Pat Longo.
Thank you. Hi, Marta. Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited. And I look forward to giving information and sharing any educational information I can give to your viewers and hopefully some of mine as well. All right. So what would you like? Where would you like to go first? Want to hear a little bit about how I got involved in all this?
I think that would be a really good starting point since we've already had a quick conversation that our guides wanted that podcast and the video to be very spontaneous. So we've got nothing planned. So, yes,
Okay.
why not? Thank you.
That's the way I like it. Well, I would say it was about, I'm never 100% sure on the time, but it was over 30 years ago, late 1990s, mid to late. And I was very interested and drawn to spirituality. I didn't know what was pushing me, but something told me there was more. And I didn't know quite what that was. So I found myself in a spiritual class, and it was, I'll call it metaphysical, because it was about things you didn't know or understand. It might be about angels, it could be about uh, what they call dowsing rods, it would be maybe tarot cards, so many different things that people really didn't know much about. And what I learned there was meditation, which was probably the biggest thing for me, because once someone starts to meditate, it's almost like we all have this amazing intuition that we're born with. Everyone has it, but when you begin to meditate, you kind of open up those doors and you begin to maybe hear some of your guidance, and that guidance could be again angels. It could be a spiritual being, a divine entity, maybe a loved one that has crossed. And so I learned a lot about that then. I wasn't doing it, but a few weeks later, my hands began to heat up really hot, like I call it hot pokers in my book. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know it had anything to do with meditation or class. I had boiling hot hands and I couldn't cool them down. So the following week, when I went back to the class, which was week 4, someone was in a lot of pain in the class due to the bad weather. It was a rainy day and they had had a car accident and all their soft tissue was hurting. Many people get pain in the, let's just say, inclement weather. So my teacher, her name was Holly, she's passed, and she asked me to move over and let this woman sit down next to me. And I did, because it was a more comfortable chair. I was on a nice soft couch and she was on, a hard folding chair. And then the teacher said, Pat, put your hand on her leg. And you can't imagine the look I gave her. Like, why would I do that? What are you talking about? And then she said, no, just put your hand on her leg. So I did. I didn't do anything. I had no idea what I was doing. I just put my hand on her leg. I didn't know what she wanted. And then about 2 minutes later, she was no longer in pain. So this was my first experience with actually touching someone. Again, not doing anything mentally. And that's when I learned, which is probably the most important lesson of all, that when you are what's called a channel, a vehicle, a vessel from God, it comes through you, not from you. So I learned that day that I did nothing. Somebody else did it for me. And my life turned upside down. I couldn't find any reading material on it. I went to the library. My head was spinning when I left. I'm like, why me? What's this all about? And I found a book in a bookstore, and it was called Healing Hands. And it literally kind of jumped out at me. And that was the book that really helped me understand that, again, that this energy is being processed through us, that we are intuitive, spiritual beings, and that everyone can access it. Everyone. There's no one without it. So that's the beauty of it. So that's where I began. And then, of course, things took over from there. I began to heal people. People found out about me by word of mouth. And before I knew it, I was quitting my job and driving from county to county, healing people. And listen, not everybody heals. I'm not God. It's not my choice. I just go where I'm called. And now, of course, everybody comes to me after all these years. And courtesy of Zoom, it made me available in many, many, many countries. So that's what COVID actually did for me. And as awful as it was for so many, it created a different, even being able to speak to you today, because I could have new students in my class and have them from all over the world. And I can't change that anymore because it's really important to reach everyone. So, I mean, I'm hoping this goes many places for both of us. You are an amazing channel. You do things differently than me. I'm very comfortable being the healer and the teacher, and I help train people to open up to those gifts that I told you about. And you have that beautiful gift of being able to channel the other side. And I've had a lot of people pass in the last 2 years. I mean, more than that, of course, because I had, it goes back to other family members. And, but in the last 2 years, I've had one right after the other. So it's been a lot. And I have found that several of my students and people that I know are contacting me with information for my loved ones. So if you've got anything to say, I'd be more than happy to hear it. And I'll take notes because I take good notes. Is anybody kicking around in there for you?
So, of course, I meditated before we started recording that podcast, and I've been aware of various loved ones for you. I have to mention here that I've channeled for you before, but it doesn't make any difference for the spirit world because they always bring something new, something that you can relate. So, yeah, if you're happy, I can do a quick reading for you and see what your loved ones.
That would be great. Who's ever around, I welcome them in. And
okay. Well, so I always start by blessing the session, no matter how short or long the reading is. So I would like to bless the session. And I always say out loud that I communicate with spirit of the highest truth and compassion, with those who walk in the white light of God. And any messages that I'm going to share with you will be for your highest good. And it might be not what you would like to hear, but it will be what your loved ones, angels, and guides want to share with you.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm aware of your sister being present, her presence being the strongest one.
Okay.
And as I'm connecting to her, she's kind of witty, and which tells me that you had a very, very strong relationship, but also she's been the one who would tell you directly what you were supposed to do, but also she had a great sense of humor. She's making jokes about your recent holidays, and she's making reference to a funny situation that happened in water, in waves, and she's making references to some animals like whales, dolphins being involved. And it feels to me that there would have been like a mattress in the shape of an animal as well involved that would turn over and someone would fall in the water. I feel, would that make sense?
Can I validate? Yeah. I was on a tube that was shaped like a couch. And it's for 3 people. And I was on with 2 of my grandsons. And there was another one next to us with 3 of my granddaughters. And the gentleman that was driving the boat got a little bit wild. And I was flying in the air. There was no strapping. You're holding on for dear life. And I am 74, but I keep telling them I've got muscles. I can still hold my own, but I'm also 4'10". And I was flying in the air and crashing down and flying in the air. And then he got a little creative, the guy. And we crashed into the other, and I slammed so hard into my grandson's shoulder that I thought I got a concussion. And it was, I mean, I didn't pass out, but I thought, oh dear Lord, I just got a concussion. And the poor kids were so scared. They thought, they were held on 10 times tighter so that they wouldn't bang into me because they're big and I'm little. We also lifted in the air and landed on one of the girls. So it was a crazy ride. If there were dolphins watching, I didn't see them, but we were right out there in the middle, and they're definitely, there's definitely a lot of dolphins and other creatures out there. We had a few jellyfish bites as well that went on. So it was
So the
interesting.
message is coming with you, like she's very, very happy that despite of you losing her in the physical world, you've managed to, well, you keep bringing joy to others, but you allowed other people to bring joy to you. And it's so important for you. And finally, you've gone on holiday. She's like, oh, finally, because she only works. She helps everyone else, but doesn't look after herself. So she would like you to prioritize your well-being and health more. And she's just also mentioning reference to a local spa or resort where you could go more frequently with your family. So she is the one who's going to communicate and will make sure that you're not only going to take holidays once a year, but she would like you to dedicate more time during the weekends. And she's telling you it doesn't have to take like many days. You can just go for a night or two.
Okay,
so that's the message she's bringing. She's also mentioning about one of the grandchildren. Do you know anyone with the name Luca or beginning with L? She's mentioning about one of the grandchildren eating too many ice cream and having a sweet tooth. And she's laughing that that's after you because her nutrition, her food style was much better. So if there was anyone
she has lots of grandchildren besides me and great grandchildren. So, I mean, we have the same amount of children, but I think she has like 13 great grandchildren. I haven't hit that part yet. There are L names. I would have to look even on the other side of my family, but I don't think she's talking about that side. There is a Luke, and he's a little bit older. So I'm going to have to think about that and investigate. I'm going to see one of her grandchildren, one of her great grandchildren tomorrow, actually, and her daughter, which is my goddaughter.
Okay.
We're going to play together. So I'm going to ask her.
Okay. And how would you understand with her? She's also making me aware of the importance of number 4 and the October as month as being significant as well. So number 4 is very significant, and the month October.
October. Okay. Well, the month of October is very significant. It was her wedding anniversary as well as my parents' wedding anniversary. I do have a grandchild born in the month of October. Again, she has so many, I don't even know the months of hers, but he is the oldest of 4, that particular one. So I'm wondering if it.
I feel there's something important that could have happened in April that's related to you and to your husband, something joyful, something happy.
My daughter,
this is where I'm heading.
Yeah, my daughter got married on April 22nd, and I literally just said that to someone before you and I got on this. They were asking me to do a podcast in the week of April 22nd, and I said, oh, that's my daughter's anniversary. And I have a picture to my left. Actually, my whole table to my left is from my daughter's wedding, and it's my husband and I and all the little ones.
And that's him coming forward because they are together. So that's him mentioning about the importance of the month of April. But what he's also mentioning is that it is so beautiful that you prioritize family overall. And there will be always time for various podcasts, various events, but the time that you dedicate and the heart that you've given to your loved ones, to the immediate family, well, you can't replace it. So he's very, very grateful for you looking after, well, the children that are already like grown up, but like you
Yeah.
treat as
Even the
if they were
grandchildren
young.
becoming grown-ups, they go between 4 and 25, the ages of my 17 grandchildren. And, you know, so I'm still babysitting and working it around my classes and whatever I have to do. They always are my priority. Spirituality, of course, is what I do every day, but my kids come first. So
Your mom's very proud of you, and of course, she always comes forward. And she's also joking, "Oh, I've never known like she would have so many children, grandchildren, and she's coping so well." And she's not always been so patient, she's telling me. So you've mastered your patience, like with the children, with the grandchildren. So she's very much admiring your dedication. Yes.
I appreciate that. My mother was great. My mother probably had, I think she had the same amount of grandchildren as I do. But then, of course, she had, you know, great grandchildren in the 30 some odd, 36, I think, but she passed, and there were more after that. And I have managed that patience. It's very different with the grandchildren, how you operate other than your own children. I tell people that my sister who passed, my sister Kathleen, she used to tell me that because she had a grandchild before me. And she said, you have no idea how different it is. You know, you raise your children, but it's very, very special when the grandchildren come in. It's a whole different kind of feeling. So I have learned that, and I have a very different relationship with my grandchildren than I did with my own children. I don't have to be the tough guy, but I am a very strong disciplinarian with the kids. And my daughter-in-laws are always like, "Are you kidding? How did you get them to bed so fast?" I said, "They cooperate. You know, I make the rules, and that's just the way it works." So it's all good. But thank you, Mom, for that, and thank you, Marta.
Yes, and the last message that I'll leave you with, without going into much detail, but both of your mom and your sister are making reference to a particular hospice. Well, they're mentioning St. Columbus, but that might be just my point of reference. There is a particular place, very significant, that they're bringing to my attention.
Okay, but you heard the word Columbus. Is that what you
Yes,
said?
that's what I've heard. Saint Columbus. That's what I've heard
Well,
as being important.
not as much of a place. Actually, that's in October as well. And that's my other sister's anniversary on Columbus Day. She got married
Okay.
that weekend. Columbus Day weekend is when she got married. And you know, Eileen is my assistant, and
Yes.
that is her anniversary, which I wasn't even thinking about at the time. And
Okay.
that's in the beginning, first 2 weeks of October, I
Okay.
believe.
So that would be one anniversary, but there's also an emphasis on a hospice, and it feels like it's a future event because of the history of various female family members dying of cancer. There will be a charity event, I feel, somewhere that you're going to take part and you're going to do healing. So that's what they're showing me.
Okay. I will look for it when it comes.
And I feel they're giving me May/June in terms of the earthly time.
Okay. Well, we do have, look, there's a lot of celebrations that come up when you have a big family. And I get dates all the time from everybody. Okay, this is this and this is this. We have some graduations. We have a college graduation coming up. We have, I think we have, do we have two? I think we have two coming up. And actually, I'm going to say three. Now that the more I think about it, I have a lot of children that go to university now, grandchildren, and we have a lot of big events, and they're calling me and say, okay, keep this one free and make sure you keep. And I know there's something in May. There's something coming up in May. I just got it from my daughter-in-law, and there's a confirmation from one of my grandchildren as well. And I think that might be, I don't know. There's so many. I'm listing whatever you say
Okay.
because
Well,
I'm gonna
thank you.
look for it. But
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to bring your loved ones, and I want to thank them.
And I want to thank them too, because I'm very excited. I've been hearing from other ones, so I'm so happy to hear from my sister. We've been talking about her every day. And each one of us, I'm blessed to have 4 sisters and, and myself and 1 brother. And she is the oldest. So I'm the second in line. And, so we probably, as much as we had ups and downs in life, we did. I think when I was born, I kind of usurped her position in the pecking order, and she was not happy about it. But we worked through all that. It took a while. But I'm very happy to hear from her more than anybody else. My husband, he's great. He's always popping into somebody, but she's new. She's only past September 20th. September 20th.
And she's around you, you know it, and you can feel her presence too. So.
Yes. I keep her picture right where I could see it. I look up and I can see her over there looking back at me. Sometimes I can't look at it though. Sometimes I have to turn away because it's just too emotional. But it was pleasant to hear from her. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're very welcome, and I thank them for coming forward.
Well, look, you keep doing this work and sharing it and helping. People don't realize how powerful it is for someone who is able to channel someone from the other side, because what it does is it brings closure. It brings closure to someone like me to hear something from somebody who I certainly wish was still here. But it also brings closure to the person on the other side when they pass and they don't get a chance to say last words or final things that they would love to have said to someone. So it's like healing. It's healing with your words, but it heals on both sides of the veil. All right. I do healing with my hands and I do healing with my words. But again, we're very different in what we do. You, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you also do some healing. Is that correct?
I do, but it's mainly through words. I know Spirit would like me to do the healing one day. They're working on that. So for the time being, I heal through my words.
You're going to stick to the words.
Yes.
But it is, I do find that a lot of the people that I work with and train are learning that they're limitless, and that not only can they speak from people's angels or guides or loved ones, because it's not just the loved ones, of course, it's hearing from your guides and your angels and maybe God. People hear from all manner of energies that are on the other side, out in the universe that we live in. But the healing also, I'm finding the mediums want to do some healing, and the healers are getting messages while they're doing healing. So it's kind of a combo going on now. And look, I encourage it, but I know your guides are going to tell you the when. You do have great guides. I tell you that all the time because they're very clear to you. Not everyone is that clear, and that is the clairaudience. Okay, you have we have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. And I do believe that everybody sees, but differently. Okay, some people are very clear. They'll get like a picture or a movie screen or something in bold color. Sometimes it's kind of like a ticker tape that goes by. And then there are other people that don't think they can see. But when I ask them to close their eyes and go to their favorite vacation and tell me about it, they can tell me everything. They can tell me the color of the sky. It's imagination is the bridge to spirit and memory. So if we've been somewhere we can call it right to us. It may not look like a picture, but the thought and the memory is there. So that's your clairvoyance, clear seeing. Then you have clairaudience, which I know how clairaudient you are. You hear them quite well. And not everybody does. A portion of people hear them so clearly. I train people to hear the still small voice within them that we all have. And it would be random thoughts that come from out of nowhere. Don't ignore your random thoughts, people. You should not, because random thoughts are often for someone else that you're sitting with or talking to. And maybe if you express that random thought, you might start a conversation that would help yourself or them. It could always be somebody has something to share with you, but by opening, if you don't open your mouth and you don't open the conversation, it doesn't happen. So again, we hear in our own voice for the most part. And until you learn how to discern the difference between you and your guides and spirit, everybody thinks it's them. They don't understand I'm actually hearing. There's something called automatic writing that I was taught about a very long time ago. And automatic writing is channeling through the pen. And it's actually taking dictation. But people don't realize it. They focus on the pen and the words come out from spirit, but they're really taking dictation. So they're hearing all the time. They just don't get the connection until they meet somebody like me or you, or read a certain book where somebody can explain it. So again, we all hear in repetitive thoughts and random thoughts. Pay attention. You might be surprised. Then we have clairsentience. Okay, well, clairsentience comes from the solar plexus, right below the sternum and the rib cage. It's a sense of feeling. Clairsentience is clear feeling. And the sense of feeling, that's probably my strongest suit. I feel everybody's energy. And many people out there can feel when someone's being honest, when someone's being dishonest. They can feel when they're being introduced to new people, they might feel like a block or a resistance. And I tell people, pay attention to that resistance, because your gut does not lie. Your body does not lie. So if you pay attention to how you feel when you meet someone, walk away from something that has resistance, because if you engage, you end up getting hurt or burned at the end of that. You have to pay attention to those feelings. If you feel like this is a merge. This is like, I've known this person all my life. They could be a soul sister, any of that. But maybe you've never met them before, but you just click. And the one that you had the resistance against, they didn't do anything to you, but yet you feel it. So sometimes I've done it. I step in anyway, and I find out within a matter of months, it was a mistake. Okay, so I don't agree to mistakes. I'm going to take that word back, and I'm just going to say that everything is a learning lesson. Everything that happens in life, we should be looking at, even the most difficult of situations. Look at them, pay attention, see what you could learn from it. And again, they're not mistakes. There's just more to learn. So the next clair is claircognizance. Now, I'm definitely a claircognizant person. And claircognizance is just like an all-knowing. And I'm not like giving full descriptions. I'm giving you the idea of kind of how I feel about it. And everybody's different too. You know, everybody gets information differently. And we're all unique, like snowflakes. No two people are the same. So you may get something one way, I may get something. If somebody asks me something in class, sometimes if I can't answer it, I'll put it out to the room and say, okay, has anybody else got an idea? I'm learning every day. I don't know everything, and neither does anybody else. And when we pass, we keep learning. That's an interesting part. Nothing changes. We learn all the time. And then maybe we decide to come back and do the next round, and we learn again. So claircognizance again is when you all of a sudden you say something to somebody and they'll say, I don't, somebody will say, how do you know that? I don't know. I don't know how I know. I just know. I just feel it. Somehow I feel it. And your body is just kind of giving you the go ahead. I have something that I do. When someone tells me something that appears to be simple or mundane, not important or serious, my stomach will drop, just like I'm in an old elevator. It'll drop, and I know that it will not end well. That is my body's way of saying, does it, somebody's saying it to me, and boom, my stomach drops. I said, that's not going to end well. Now, if somebody tells me something that appears to be upsetting, or maybe something about an illness, and I stay level and even, nothing changes in my, I feel very calm and peaceful. I know it's going to be fine. But again, that's something that I have developed within myself. Everybody has different tools and different caution signs. Okay, we all do if we just start to pay attention. The last two clairs that I can speak on at all is clairolfactory, which is the sense of smell. And I do have that as well. And after my husband passed, one of the first things I smelled was cigarette smoke, and he never smoked around me. I was very sensitive, but I walk right through it every once in a while, and that's his calling card saying he's here. So I'm familiar with that. And people in my classes used to smell perfumes sometimes going around the room, or certain colognes that they could attach to different loved ones, and lotions, things like that. So, and I know others that'll smell baked goods that are connected to someone who passed. Then there's Clairaudience. That's the sense of taste. Okay, and I do not know many people that ever talk about Clairaudience or being able to taste things. I do know several, and one in particular that she's been tasting things since she's a little child, and everything has a meaning to her. If someone had a seizure, she'll taste battery acid. Like if you put a battery on your tongue, most people don't do that, but when I was a kid, we all did that. We test the battery in our tongue. And also, if she's going to taste cancer, it's going to taste like a sulfur match when you light a match, and she'll taste the sulfur smell, and that tells her that there's cancer present. So she has her own way. And I've heard of others, medical intuitives that can do that, but it isn't as prevalent. You don't hear it as much. So that's about as much of a tight list I could give you of all the things, the different things that each one of us possess. And if we learn how to utilize them, you may be surprised once again. So,
well, thank you for introducing or maybe reminding some people about the clairs. I feel it's very beautiful what you're doing with all of your students, because as you know, I have background in evidential mediumship as well, where there's a particular emphasis on working on a particular clair at a given moment. And what I love about your classes is that you allow every student to develop their clairs the way spirit wants us to develop. And I truly believe that also it is up to spirit to decide sometimes which clairs they want to use while communicating with us. And I really believe that that removes lots of pressure, because all we have to do is to set an intention that we want to be of service, that we want to channel, but we don't have to use our logical mind and try to think, okay, what clair am I going to use it? We just leave it up to the spirit world. And I feel it's so important, and there are still so many teachers that they don't do it. So yeah, thank you for doing it.
I appreciate that. You're very welcome. And I learned along the way that pressure is the worst thing you could do. Don't press people. If you're constantly worried that you're not going to say the right thing, give the right information, or are people going to think I'm crazy? You just break the connection with spirit. Spirit wants to help everybody. They do. They want to help me. They want to help you. They want to help us even make decisions in our own life. It doesn't have to be about reading people or healing people. It's just about tapping in and learning your intuition. And maybe it helps you buying a house or making a decision about a doctor or a college that you want your child to go to. It's utilizing the powers around us that are all out there. They're all out there and they all want to help. They whisper and they whisper and they whisper and they say it's the wise man who has an open ear, but we all are capable. It's just, do we understand it? And part of what you're doing when you're doing these podcasts, you're trying to give people education and understanding. It's what I do. It's what I started out doing. Listen, I was learning it at the same time. It was all new to me, but I learned when I started teaching that my guides gave me the lesson plans. I started thinking, well, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this. No, 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 no.
Mhm.
They basically wrote a writing through another one of my students and said, just supply the water and the space and we'll
Mhm.
take care of the rest. And so I never worried about it again. I always trusted from the moment my gift came to me, which was overnight, that it wasn't me. And I had tremendous faith in wherever it was coming from. I assigned who I thought it was based on my Catholic upbringing. I went to those that I knew, God, Jesus, Mary. But I learned many others were out there, and then there were angels, and angels were helping me work, and my students were opening up, and they were getting loved ones, and they were getting, again, some people get music. They'll get music. All of a sudden, they're hearing music, angelic music, out of nowhere. So it's such an amazing thing to explore. And listen, I'm 74 years old now. So it's been a long time that I was only 40, really. I was a little younger when I started working with classes with a teacher, the only teacher that I ever actually had. And it was short lived. It was a 10-week class, and then I did another 10-week class, and then she did something monthly. So I got to meet other people, but I kind of had to figure out what I was doing on my own. And I did a lot of that with books, reading amazing books by amazing authors. And I would like to say about a lot. I mean, I ate them whole. I would get 6 to 10 books at a time, and I couldn't get through them fast enough.
Mhm.
I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do that. And oh, this isn't enough. It's not getting me there fast enough. So I would move. But what I learned is that sometimes certain parts of a book that an author will write doesn't resonate with you. But that's okay. You can move past that piece. It doesn't mean throw the book out. Doesn't mean, it just means that that was that author's interpretation of how they were getting their information. So I encourage people, just put that piece aside and move on. And if the whole book affects you that way, then that's okay. You can move that aside as well. But it has to, again, that feeling that you get in your body that says, I don't know if this works for me. Again, we have to use our own intuition every day to discern the things that are important and the things that we leave aside.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I feel like it also applies to the teachers that we choose to work with, that we choose to be mentored by. I love the way you speak about like not wanting anyone to put you on a pedestal. And I really, well, it resonates with me because essentially we are all one. Of course, you do have more
Yes,
experience at a particular well, more about particular subjects, but then again, we're all one. So that's
that
very
is
beautiful.
correct.
And the fact that someone's spiritual doesn't mean that they will have the same point of view. And again, that I studied with various teachers and mentors, and I'm always grateful for everyone, and I always learn something. But I really found that evidential mediumship very restricting. So I was very, very grateful when Spirit guided me to you. And then I realized during your classes that I can actually channel guides and angels as well. It doesn't have to be just loved ones. And then also, when I was training in spiritualist churches, there's a particular order that you're allowed to give information. You have to start with whether it's a male or female, the age of the person, the passing, and the relationship. And until the person that you're reading for has told you yes to all those information, you're not allowed to move forward. And what I found beautiful with you and as a teacher is that you allow the freedom, and you allow, and I completely agree, for the Spirit to decide what is the type of evidence that they want to bring, because not every spirit, from my experience, not every person in spirit, they want to talk about their passing because it might have been very traumatic. There might be just different gem of information that they would like to treat as evidential.
100%. And I am, I have seen many situations where spirit really doesn't know how to do this yet. And they don't know how, they don't use names all the time. They don't. I usually tell people, ask them, who are you with? How did you pass? Do you have any messages? It doesn't matter how it comes. It has to be the thing that makes the person sitting in front of you connect and feel better. It doesn't matter from who. It doesn't matter if there's a name. I don't use the word evidential. I've said it enough. I never even heard the word evidential when I started all this. And I honestly have been training people to do this for an awful long time. And I know that it works. It's silly to make it has to be this way. It's silly because then the messages are missed. We have to open the box. We have to open the box and use all our different ways of intuiting from all the different sources to make the pieces of the puzzle come together. Yes. I look at it kind of like a detective. I always did. And, I think I even wrote it in my book. I think I would have been a detective if I wasn't a healer, because I love solving puzzles. So, when somebody comes in, even to see me in a healing capacity, what my guides do, which a lot of people wouldn't understand, they'll recognize it now saying this, but I listen to the storylines that pop into my head. All of a sudden, I get a storyline of something that happened in my life, maybe with one of my children or my family, or maybe with a previous client. And the storyline pops into my head and I say it out loud. And as soon as I say it out loud, it makes sense to them. They'll say, how did you know that? Well, that's exactly what happened to my mother, or that's what's going on with my son or me. So I just trust my thoughts, whatever my thoughts are. I do not channel people from the other side. That is not what I do. People think I do. Every day people want a reading, and we keep saying, Pat does not do readings. That's not what she does. And I have people that clone me on Instagram and Facebook. They're constantly pretending to be me, stealing my stuff and putting my face up and then soliciting readings. I don't read people. And anybody that knows anything about me knows that. I'm going to have to start saying it on every podcast that I do, because so many people get scammed. And, all you can do is block and report. Nobody does anything about it, truthfully. I don't think they can do it to me on Instagram anymore because I got one of those blue check marks, but it's hard to get them. It's hard to get them. You have to go through all sorts of hoops. There's celebrities that can't get them. So I got lucky with the one. We'll see. I'm working on the rest of them. If you're an author, you have a little more shot. But even still, anybody can do anything they want out there today if they know their way around a computer, which is not me. So listen, I've been trying all morning to get something up online and without any success. I've got to call my granddaughter. I'm on the phone with my sister. I called my daughter. I said, how do I do this? But anybody that really does know what they're doing can take your name and just, say they're you. Take your picture. It's really sad. The technology in today's world is a wonderful thing. Technology is very important. And I said that before. It allowed me to open up to many, many countries. However, it also has a really dark side, okay, for those that, again, will cheat and con and use and put up products and things that are not truth. So everyone has to learn to be diligent. Everyone has to learn to research and make sure that they're with the right person, or again, purchasing the right product. And you talked before about teachers, and I did want to just comment on that. Something you've heard me say, I will tell my students, I'm not the only teacher in town. Go out, find other places, other teachers. You came to me already having done that, but I will always tell them, I don't know everything. Go out. Maybe you'll learn this, maybe you'll learn that, maybe you'll learn this. Most often people come back to me and their answer is, well, this personality didn't work with me, or this class was doing this, or this, it just didn't feel right. But I learned this, or maybe I made a really good friend. There's always something you can learn, always. But again, I also, you've heard me say I'm not the psychic police. I can't determine or decide for anyone what they should or shouldn't do. That's all in here. And again, our guidance, if we learn to use the intuition, the guidance is going to direct you. It's going to direct you. And, listen, I'm easy. I'm as easy as they can be. I want everybody to learn, and not everybody learns as fast. Also, coming off of something you said, not everyone learns quickly. It takes a little time. More people tell me, I don't think I belong in your class. They'll say it all the time. A lot of people, and they'll say it, and I'll say, listen, I picked you because I picked the people. People can't just join up whenever they want. I have to feel the energy of the people that I work with. And before I say, okay, I think you'd like it in my class, or I think you'd like to join this community. But I have to know that energy first, because I want everything to be in balance. And that's what you find again sometimes when you go to other classes. The balance isn't there. And I experienced that myself early on. So once you experience it, I'm a little more particular about the energies that are mixing together. Okay? And listen, there'll always be somebody that doesn't seem like they fit. I find that here and there. And maybe they're a little rough around the edges, or, whatever it is, they rub people the wrong way. Something in me tells me they need the class for a different purpose. It may not be as much for the intuition that they're learning, but they might need some type of sense of camaraderie in this field. It doesn't mean they're not open spiritually. They are. They wouldn't be there otherwise. But sometimes the pieces of the puzzle are a little harder, but the big picture always shows up eventually. The bigger picture always shows up. So I watch, I pay attention, I balance, and I do what I have to do. I shift people around. And again, that's learning to be a teacher. So it took years of experience to learn all these things. Again, nothing just happens overnight. We didn't learn to read or write or walk or talk without practice. So everything hinges on practicing, and your abilities. Listen, as I said, they were there before, but the more practice you get, the stronger they get. And now look at you. Okay, so there are things you're going to be teaching people going forward that you've learned from your guides and from your experience, and people are going to learn from you, and they'll be looking at you like this someday. Say, okay, take me off that pedestal now, but
because I truly believe we never stop learning. I really enjoy taking part in your class, because I always, in your classes, I always set an intention and I ask Spirit to develop me the way they want me to develop. And every time they just bring a particular message, or there might be a particular challenge, there's always a lesson, whether a lesson for me to do something differently in my mediumship work, or it might be a life lesson that they want me to work on. Because once we are on that mediumship spiritual journey, like nothing gets hidden, everything gets reflected back onto us. So not only we are of service to others, but we are also on a self-development, self-growth journey. So I'm honored being able to be on that path. But it is a challenging one, I must admit. But yes, I've said definitely yes to that, and
For sure.
I enjoy learning.
Everything you do, all the intentions you set are the perfect thing. You know, I would get readings years and years ago when I first started this from different people. And even when I got a reading, I would write down a list before I would go of the things I wanted to hear about. I would never show it to the medium ever. I just made it. I talked to my guides and I made a list and said, these are the things that I would like to get out of this. So it was the intention that I set, and I would always get that information. And because I'm talking to my guides. All right. And then, like you said in the beginning, our guides are together now. Okay. My guides are working with your guides, and vice versa. And when I would teach classes, I would find that I had a whole class for a long while of people who had lost children. There was a few people in the class that hadn't, or they hadn't had children, but whatever. But I found that the children who were on the other side actually were meeting up together on the other side, just like a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And they began to channel through different parents, not just their own.
Mm-hmm.
The other parents began to channel for the other one with their children. It was
Beautiful.
crazy how it worked. But again, it was an experience that I learned from being in a class like that with people. And listen, Spirit has so much to teach, so much to teach. And they've got plenty of us. We have so much to learn. There's so many people on this planet. And I think we need to start learning sooner rather than later. Okay. We need to send light. We need to raise our vibration with light, with laughter, with love, with music, with gratitude, with prayer and meditation. There's so many ways to raise your vibration. We don't want to be down here. We want to be up there. We want to be in a beautiful space where things move easily and simply for us. We're human. We're going to have tough situations go on, just like me having a lot of passings recently. I know you've certainly had your fair share. We're all going to go through trying circumstances in our lives. But if we learn how to raise the vibration, how not to get caught up in the drama, it's that much easier. It's almost like learning how to jump out of a difficult situation quickly. And it's all about raising the vibration.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yes, I agree that joy and laughter is a very important, well, should be an important part of everyone's life. And that doesn't diminish, and it doesn't diminish the fact that we've lost loved ones. This is what I try and teach my children as well, to make sure that they can, well, raise their vibration, that they can dance, that they sing. And also I teach them about forgiveness. My daughter asked me the other day, Mom, why do you always forgive me before bedtime? Why do you always also say sorry? Why does it happen before bedtime? And then we have a new day tomorrow. So like I always explain to her, and then I try to educate them about like leaving things behind and then concentrating on here and now. But also I teach them what you've taught me and what you teach your students about protecting their energy, about grounding themselves. And I do it sometimes in a indirect way because they're my children, so not always they would follow my guidance, but by them seeing that I do it,
whatever way you can.
then they copy.
And the
So
younger
thank
they
you.
are, the better it is for them. So, you teach whatever way you can. And I call it the back door policy. I always go in the back door and I get what I need to get done by approaching things in a different way and not always being right up front, being a little more careful how you get a child to do what it is that you'd like them to do in a good way. But laughter to me is the best medicine, and what you do, and forgiveness is so important. But it also is forgiveness of self as well as others. I used to tell my kids, nobody gave me a handbook for parenting. Nobody handed me something that says this is what you do. They don't. And I said, I make mistakes, and I am going to make mistakes going forward, and you will too, as time comes for you, for yourselves, and they learn. But it is about admitting that you yourself are wrong, even to children, that I misread that situation, or I should have communicated better, or whatever it is. There's so many different, listen, I could be a parent forever and teach people because I've had so many under my watch. And again, I'm very blessed and very grateful. But forgiveness of others is really important because each one of us, like, I haven't walked in your shoes and you haven't walked in mine. And you'll never walk in the shoes of your clients, but you'll learn from it. And neither will I. We are unique like snowflakes. There are no two people alike. So when you and I might be blessed in different ways with the lives we have today, or our children, our homes, there are so many people out there that don't have even what we have. Okay, they don't have it. So their stories are a lot heavier. So I teach people to try and forgive the people who hurt them so that they don't get sick. Because we hold the traumas in here from those that have hurt us, abused us, betrayed us, disappointed us throughout life. And if we hold on to them, we are going to get something that eats us up inside. So I'm big on the forgiveness part. But again, it's of self and others. We need to make sure that we forgive ourselves. As long as we learn the lesson from it and change the way we do things, then it's good with God. Okay? But listen, we're works in progress. Every one of us is a work in progress. And, again, more and more people are opening to the light all over the world. And the more and more that do, the quicker we will put out the darkness. Are you sick of me yet?
I'm never sick of you, but I feel we've come to an end. Otherwise, the podcast will be very, very long. And I know we're recording a video as well, since my guides and yours insisted on it. We weren't planning to do video, but yes, here we are. Now, I just want to express again my gratitude, and yeah, I'm grateful to have met you, and thank you for agreeing to come and speak with me. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. I love you, and it was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and I would like to thank all of the listeners and viewers. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.